My parents told me they were too sick to travel, but they were actually on vacation with my sister. Enjoy the trip, you're paying for it now, I said, and cut them off. I should have seen it coming. They always talked about my sister like she was amazing, even when I was right there. They praised her constantly, even when she didn't do anything special. But this was on a whole different level. For a whole year, I gave my parents $600 every week. It wasn't easy, I wasn't rich, I worked hard for every dollar, but I wanted to help after my dad lost his job. They acted like the world was ending. My mom called me crying, saying they couldn't pay their bills or buy groceries. I couldn't stand hearing them like that, so I stepped in to help. At first, it felt good, like I was doing the right thing, but the more I gave, the more they asked for. $600 turned into, "William, money's tight again, can you send a bit more?" They never said it outright, but they made me feel guilty. I knew I couldn't afford it, but I still sent money, because they were my parents, and I thought that's what family does. Meanwhile, my sister Joyce had it easy. She married a rich guy and never had to work a day in her life. My parents treated her like she was some kind of genius. She made smart choices. William, you should learn from her. The only choice she made was marrying someone with money, but they acted like she did it all on her own. I never said anything, it wouldn't change anything. She was always the favorite. I just swallowed my pride and kept helping. Then last week happened. 3 days before, I invited my parents to a cookout. Nothing fancy, just some food and drinks. They said no. My mom told me they were sick and didn't want me to catch anything. I offered to bring them food. She said no again, but asked if I could help with medicine since money was tight. I didn't think twice. I sent $200. "Thanks, honey, we'll pay you back as soon as we can," she said. That was 3 days ago. The next day, my neighbor Mr. Ryan called. He's an older man who lives nearby. "I just wanted to let you know I checked on your parents' house while they were away and fed the fish." "Away? Where did they go?" I asked. "They went on a trip, left 6 days ago, should be back soon. Your sister and her husband were with them, looked like a nice family trip." I couldn't believe it. They were on vacation, with Joyce, and they never told me. Worse, they asked me for money while they were already on that trip, pretending to be sick. I felt like the biggest fool in the world. That night, I couldn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling, thinking about all the times they asked for help, all the times I stressed over my bills just to make sure they were okay, and all the while, they treated Joyce like she was perfect. The next day, they came back. I decided I had to confront them. I didn't go right away. I waited so I wouldn't say something I'd regret. The next evening, I drove to their house. Joyce's car was in the driveway. I knocked. My mom answered, smiling like everything was normal. "Oh, William, what a nice surprise. We were just about to eat." I walked in. The house looked clean and fresh, like they'd just gotten back from a nice trip. I took a breath and asked, "So, how was the trip?" She flinched, just for a second, then smiled nervously. "What trip?" I laughed, bitterly. "The one you took with Joyce, the one you lied about." She stiffened and glanced toward the kitchen. My dad just kept washing dishes, pretending he didn't hear. I waited for her to say something, anything. Instead, she crossed her arms. "We don't have to tell you everything we do." I was shocked. "Are you kidding? I've been sending you money every week. I basically paid for that trip, and 3 days ago, while you were already on it, you told me you were sick and asked for more." That's when my dad finally turned around. "Watch your tone," he said. I took a breath and said, "No, I've done everything I can for you, and you lied to me." My mom sighed like I was overreacting. "We just wanted a nice trip, William. Why do you always make everything about money?" That was it. "I hope you enjoyed it, because I'm done." I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and canceled the weekly payments right in front of them. Their faces dropped. "William, don't do this," my mom said. "You know things are hard for us." I just laughed, cold and bitter. "Yeah, didn't seem too hard for you to go on vacation," I said. I turned to leave, but just as I got to the door, my dad called out, "You're just mad we didn't invite you." I stopped and turned around, shocked. "What did you say?" He just shrugged like it was nothing. "This is all because you're upset we left you out." My hands started to shake, not because I was sad or angry, it was something deeper. "Joyce wouldn't have given you a single cent," I said, "but you still act like she's perfect. I've supported you for a year, and you can't even be honest with me." I didn't wait for a reply. I walked out, got in my car, and drove home. When I got there, my phone wouldn't stop ringing, calls from my parents and Joyce. I didn't answer any of them. Sandy was on the couch. She looked at me, saw my face, and knew something had happened. I sat beside her, took a deep breath, and finally said what I'd been holding in. "I'm done giving them money. She nodded like she'd been expecting that. Honestly, I think I had been waiting for this moment too. For a long time, I felt like it was my job to help them, because if I didn't, who would? But I already knew, Joyce could have. She had more than enough money, but instead, they relied on me. And for what? To be ignored and treated like I didn't matter? No more. Sandy leaned back. So, what now? Think they'll just let it go? I rubbed my face, tired. They'll probably blame me, maybe send Joyce to try and change my mind, but I'm done, I mean it. Or at least I thought I did. The next day, the phone wouldn't stop, I ignored it all. Then came a loud knock. Sandy looked at me. You didn't invite them, did you? I shook my head and went to the door. Before I could reach it, I heard Joyce's voice. William, I know you're in there, open up. I opened the door. There she was, dressed up like she'd just left a fancy lunch. Behind her were our parents, looking perfect. I blocked the doorway. What do you want? Joyce rolled her eyes. Are you really cutting them off just because they went on a trip? I laughed bitterly. No, I'm cutting them off because they lied, used me, and treated you like a queen, and you knew all of it. She rolled her eyes again. Oh please, it's not like they made you give them money. I clenched my jaw. No, they didn't force me, but they sure knew how to guilt-trip me. We're struggling, we can't afford medicine, all while planning vacations with you. Then Mom spoke, looking hurt. That's not fair, William, we were having a hard time. I looked at her. A hard time? While you were on the beach asking me for medicine money? She had no answer. Joyce sighed. Just turn the payments back on, let's move on. I almost laughed. You think I'm just going to forget everything? No, you take care of them. Then Dad, who hadn't said anything, stepped forward and snapped. We don't want your money. I crossed my arms. Good, you're not getting it. Joyce scoffed. So now you're just going to abandon them? Sandy stood up from the couch and stepped forward. Abandon them? You mean the way they lied, used him, and betrayed him? Joyce turned to her, annoyed. Oh great, you again. Then, out of nowhere, Sandy grabbed a handful of Joyce's hair. It happened so fast. Listen carefully, Sandy said calmly. You and your parents are not welcome here. William is done with you, and so am I. Now get in your expensive car and leave. Joyce shouted and tried to pull away, then glared at Sandy, furious. You're crazy. Sandy smiled. Try me. Joyce looked at our parents, but they didn't move. She finally seemed to get it, she had lost. She straightened up and gave me one last glare. You'll regret this. I smirked. Nope. They left, and that was the last dollar I ever gave them. If Joyce was so amazing, she could pay for everything. The next morning, my phone rang. I already knew who it was. I answered. Mom yelled right away. William, I can't believe what happened. That woman of yours put her hands on your sister. I leaned back. You mean when Joyce barged into my house and insulted us? Dad cut in. She grabbed Joyce. That's assault. You better control your wife. I laughed. And you should control your daughter. Sandy was reacting to Joyce's attitude. William, we raised you better, Mom whined. I rolled my eyes. And you raised me to be your bank account, so no thanks. You're being disrespectful. And you came to my house uninvited, got told off, now you're mad. You better control that woman, Dad shouted. That was it. I laughed. You know what? I'm hanging up. Michael, don't you dare. Click. I tossed my phone on the table. Sandy walked in with her coffee. That bad, huh? I looked at her and smiled. They want me to control you. She snorted. You can't even control Joyce, good luck. I thought it was over. But 3 hours later, more loud knocking. I already knew who it was. I opened the door. Joyce stood there, arms crossed, angry. Behind her was Edwin, her husband, and he looked ready to fight. Before I could say a word, Edwin shoved past me and stormed into the house. You think this is funny? He barked, pointing at Sandy. Letting your girl touch my wife? Sandy stood, calm as ever. Your wife ran her mouth in our home. He stepped toward her. Maybe she needs to be taught some respect. Before I could think, I punched him right in the jaw. He staggered back, stunned. But I wasn't done yet. Everything I'd been holding in for the past year, every bit of anger and frustration, came pouring out. I hit Edwin again and again, not holding back. When I finally stepped back, he was lying on the floor, groaning, his face swollen and bruised. Joyce dropped to his side, screaming. Are you out of your mind? I shook my sore hand and stared at her coldly. You came here looking for trouble. Well, you got it. Edwin coughed and looked up at me, blood on his mouth. You didn't have to go that far. I knelt down and spoke quietly but firmly. You threatened my girlfriend in my home. If you ever come back, it'll be worse. Joyce helped him up, giving me a deadly glare. You just declared war, William. I smirked. No, you did. Edwin muttered. I shouldn't have. Too late. I cut in. Get out. They didn't say anything else, they just left. Sandy came over and looked at my bruised hand, then at the door. She took a sip of her coffee and said, well, that got out of hand fast. I laughed quietly and shook my head. No kidding. For the first time in my life, I felt free, no guilt, no pressure. I was done trying to earn love with money, done being the backup plan while Joyce got all the praise. After that, I never heard from Joyce or Edwin again. No calls, no texts, just silence, and I was totally fine with that. Life moved on. Sandy and I acted like nothing happened. 3 days later, my neighbor Mr. Ryan stopped me outside. Man, things really blew up, he said, shaking his head. I frowned. What do you mean? He grinned. Your sister and parents had a huge fight, loud enough for the whole neighborhood to hear. I raised an eyebrow. When? Last night. I was out watering my plants when it happened. Your sister slammed her car door and started yelling before she even got to the door. I asked, what were they fighting about? He leaned in, clearly enjoying the story. I wasn't trying to listen, but they were shouting so loud I couldn't help it, so I kind of wandered closer. I chuckled. Of course you did. He laughed. Your sister was furious, said they should have treated you better, that it was their fault you cut them off and now she had to deal with them. I blinked. Deal with them? Oh yeah, your parents told her since you weren't sending money anymore, it was her turn. I burst out laughing. He continued, grinning. She freaked out, said she wasn't their bank, yelled that they wasted all their money on vacations, even told them, why don't you just call William and say sorry so he'll start paying again? I wiped away a tear from laughing. And what did they say? Your dad said they didn't need anything from you. Your mom broke down crying, saying you betrayed her, but your sister didn't care. She looked them in the eye and said, you don't care about family, you care about money. Then she stormed off. I shook my head in disbelief. So in just 1 week, they lost both of us. Looks like it, Mr. Ryan said with a shrug. Now they're stuck, no favorite kid, no money, just the two of them, alone. I took a deep breath, letting it sink in. After all the years of using me and playing favorites, it only took one honest moment to bring it all down. And I didn't feel the slightest bit bad. I looked at Mr. Ryan and smiled. Well, they finally got what they always wanted. Oh yeah? What's that? I opened my car door and said with a grin, Joyce, all to themselves. Then I drove off, feeling no regrets. Update. I really thought that was the end. My parents were stuck with Joyce, she was furious, and I was finally free. Life was peaceful. Then, a week later, I got a text from an unknown number. William, it's your father, call me, it's urgent. I stared at it for a second, thinking about ignoring it, but I was too curious. I called. He picked up right away. William, I don't want to fight, we need to talk. If this is about money. It's not, he said quickly, it's about Joyce. That got my attention. What about her? He paused, then said, she's getting divorced. I almost dropped the phone. What? Edwin kicked her out, said he's done supporting her, now she's back living with us, she has nowhere else to go. I tried not to laugh. So the sister who tried to get you to guilt me into sending money, is now broken back home? He sighed. William, this isn't funny. I leaned back on the couch. It kind of is. There was silence, then he said, she wants to talk to you. I smirked. Not my problem. Then I hung up. I guess Joyce finally got a taste of what it feels like to be used and left behind.